Hi, my name is Paul Chaikin. In this video, I have the pleasure to meet Kirk Monteux in his studio. We will talk about how everything began, the way he went from being a street musician, the several recording studios he built, how he learned to develop websites creating graphics, how he became his own marketing manager, and how he survived in the music business. So Kirk, your family name Monteux has a great musical history. Can you tell us about this?
Well, I'm one of the several great grandsons of Pierre Monteux. Pierre Monteux was a pretty important conductor in the world of classical music, which I'm not really involved. This is a totally different world. Pierre Monteux, he has founded the Boston Symphony Orchestra, for instance. He played a big part in the San Francisco Symphony. Unfortunately, he died just 1 year before I was born. He died in 1964. I was born in 1965, so I never met him. But his son, Claude Monteux, which is my grandfather, he was a flutist, a very, very worldwide traveled musician. He played in a lot of big orchestras. Those guys are really, really big, and I'm just went into little footsteps of those big guys in my family.
How did you become a musician, and what was your first instrument?
I played around on this grand big piano as a 5-year-old boy, and I was involved in music from the beginning. And sequentially, I went to school and learned piano. And in the middle of that learning piano, we had to move to a small apartment in Frankfurt City, so we couldn't take the piano with us. So, short story, I switched to classical guitar. That was a much smaller instrument, much quieter, much more relief for the neighbors, I guess, in an apartment house. So I did learn on the music school classical guitar. Right now in my studio I play the keyboards, but just for the music production purposes. I couldn't be on a stage on a piano. I don't have the skill for that.
You were also very interested in electronics. How did you combine this with your interest in music?
Yeah, I used to grow up with a solder. I mean, there was no device in the household that was safe. Anything I get in my hands, I try to disassemble it, to figure out what's going on. And I think I experienced my first electrical shock when I was 7 years old. Being a sound engineer, that was the obvious idea. So that's pretty much my decision when I was a 16-year-old. And to learn, in Germany we called it Tontechniker. That's pretty much the equivalent to sound engineer. So to have being involved in music, creativity, and having to deal with a lot of expensive technique.
After you moved to Berlin in the early 80s, you got in touch with electronic music.
Yes. When I came to Berlin with my guitar, with my classic guitar, I tried myself as a street musician. But also, I didn't need the money. And back these days, we're talking about the early 80s. That was still the time of West Berlin, with the wall still surrounding the city. Also, I met some people, they were involved in electronic music, especially Thomas Kutsch. He became one of my best friends. And he used to work as a technician in this recording studio of Tangerine Dream, which Tangerine Dream is very, very well-known electronic music project, and they formed the Sound of Berlin. It's called the Berlin School. That's German and in the world of electronic music. Before they went to the United States, they had a sound studio in an old movie theater somewhere in Berlin. I never went to the place, but Thomas, the guy I met and became friend, and he was really involved into electronic music. He had a sampling machine. He had synthesizers from Sequential Circuit, from Korg, from Roland. He had one of the first Wave 2.0 wavetable synthesizers. Totally fancy stuff. Really expensive. We're talking about a synthesizer for about 20,000 marks. It's incredibly expensive. And he invited me to join his recording studio with my guitar. So because he wanted to extend or to bring some new sounds into his electronic world. I like the idea to get electronic music with the classical guitar. I mean, why not? So I came into the place, and he had already, I mean, the only thing I saw until the day where you can record music was a tape machine, a multi-channel tape machine. But he had this very first Amiga 500, I don't know exactly, little computer screen, really cryptic things on the screen, and it called Sequencer. And I had no idea what it actually does. Instead of recording my playing on the guitar on the tape machine, he recorded it right into a sampler. This little box in the rack where it was able to record maybe 1 or 2 seconds, or maybe 10 seconds, a little phrase. And then he took the phrase I played and repeated it, or he cut it, he shortened it, or whatever. And I thought, my first thought was, this is evil. I mean, this is cheating. But also I was really, really fascinated by doing this kind of music, or this kind of the way of music creation. That was totally new to me.
After your time in Berlin, you moved to Frankfurt and built your very first own recording studio. How did you start to get into the business?
I built my very own bedroom studio. Because of all these new electronics and music production techniques, you could fit a complete recording studio literally in your bedroom. And I did exactly that. And it was exciting. I had a 16-track Fostex analog tape machine. I've got my first Atari computer to do all the MIDI stuff. I had a emulator, Emax 2, a couple of Roland synthesizers, and the EMU sampler, and my first Cubase 1.0 on an Atari 2040 ST, I guess it was, yes. A microphone, a little booth for vocal recording. A singer called Chichi Odu, and she was a fantastic singer. So we wrote a couple of songs, and yes, I tried hard to produce the next hit. I went through a lot of offices from on-air managers and on record labels. Not just I only produced all the music and composed the music. I had to have a salesman too, traveling from office to office, from record label to record label, and present my music. And like thousands of other producers did it back in the 90s. It was kind of embarrassing, because people they're sitting there in their offices and they let the tape run, and they actually didn't listen really to the music, or stop the music after 10 seconds. And they always ask, where's the hook? Where's the hook? The hook line has to come up in the time of 30 seconds. Otherwise, you can't play it on the radio. Everything was so regulated, And I did a couple of jobs, and I earned my very first money with music business somehow, technical services, some composing stuff. Still struggling to be the next super producer, which didn't happen. But somehow I got my foot into the business, which made me pretty proud, and I thought it was the right way. And then I met a guy, Brian Cornell. He introduced me to a publisher, Black Forest Music. That's the name of the business. And he was specialized in foreign country licensing. So he had a kind of business connection to Japan. And he was able to get a couple of tracks produced by me and Brian to the people from Konami. And Konami, they invented a game. It's called Dance Dance Revolution, DDR. So basically, it's a machine where with a little small dance floor. You've got some lights on the dance floor and some arrows, and you have to dance and do steps along to music. In the right way. And the more precise you do these steps and you dance the thing, the higher is the score. Get up and move! Science, I make you fly. Way up high, be right by my side. A critical danger, bodies pumping, feet just slumping, heartbeat pumping. I feel something moving me fast. As they can't but I make it last. You got the step, you got the flow. Get up and move! Keep on kicking, make your combo. Yeah. Get up and move! It was a smashing hit. They went so crazy about this. And then Sony became involved in this kind. They ported this game into the PlayStation console. There was a huge demand for music, for new tracks, music in different kind of styles, and we delivered music. 20 pieces, 25 pieces, I don't know exactly. So that was really a good business. It was really, every version of these games they brought to the market, they sell a couple of millions right away, maybe 2-3 millions in the first couple of years. They squeezed the market for about 10 years and made the money with it. And for every single sale, we got the royalties from it. So that was really a good income. I reinvested mostly the money in my third studio. So my demand for a console or a studio environment where I can really store every situation and switch to the different project and switch back to the other project, that was really necessary. It was a Sony DMXR100. That was one of the first digital consoles. So despite we were very busy with that Sony PlayStation stuff, we still wanted to create our own project to really get a single hit out of the market, somehow to hit the charts. So the project DJ Kirk was born because I started to work as a DJ in a nightclub in Frankfurt. So the idea was to cross-promote my work as a DJ and build a new project called DJ Kirk. So we did that vocal house, party house thing like Dr. Alban, Sing Hallelujah, or Moose T. Horny. We had a single, it's called Sing It, DJ Kirk Sing It. Some people might remember it or know it. And that was the exciting point where we actually signed our very first record contract with a record label for that single. And they brought it on the market as a CD, as a vinyl, And we got into the German dance floor charts, some in the top 20. And also we had an appearance on the Dome Volume 17, one of the German's most important hit samplers. There was 2 of them, or still is. Bravo Hits, that's one of them. And the Dome, that's the other one. I mean, being on a compilation like this, that's really... It was a huge step for us. Unfortunately, the singer, Janine Love was her name, she also was signed as a background singer for the project called Scat Jack. It was a very well-known dance floor project in the 90s. So we couldn't use her face or her appearance as the artist who represents our hit. I met this guy, Siegfried Speckhardt. He's a great sculptor and painter, and he did really interesting objects on aluminum. A mix of, he scratched things into the aluminum on the surface, then covered up with color, with paint. And when you put some lights on the surface of the metal, it causes some really interesting three-dimensional reflections. So I tried to capture this with photography, with different light positions, and afterwards I would combine those different phases of lighting, brought those photographies in sequentially together with crossfades to make it kind of moving. My interest was to combine multimedia with music, picture, and have a nice DVD product with a nice booklet, which has a story about these Mr. Speckhardt and his work on sculpturing and painting, and my music, which was totally opposite from the party house DJ stuff. It was back to my classical guitar education, a mix of Vangelis, Andreas Vollenweider with classical guitar. And we had a nice introduction exhibition with the artists. So we took one of his metal paintings and we cut it down in 100 pieces. And he would sign those pieces. We would number those pieces with a serial number, 0 to 1999. And I hold the 0, by the way. And we sold it as a piece of art together with the DVD, and we presented it to the audience, and it was really a nice thing. The media, the press was very interested into it, so that was a totally different project. Besides my Japanese music thing for the crazy dance revolution, my DJ party house sound, and the more artistic thing.
With the massive uprising of the internet in the early 2000s and music downloads legal and illegal, how did you experience and deal with the fast transformation of the music business?
Well, I mean, yeah, in perspective right now, I mean, it's ridiculous. What we're facing right now with streaming, this is a totally different story. But it started when the CD came into the market. We used to hold a vinyl like this size in our hands, and we would celebrate the graphics on it, and it was really kind of a object with passion, and you hold something in your hands, and it gave you the feeling of worthiness, right? So even the CD with that little plastic thing, it was really a reduction of appearance of having something in your hand. And by the way, after a couple of days, the surface of the CD was really scratchy and dusty, and it doesn't look really nice. And everybody knows that once you put the booklet 2 or 3 times back and forth into the case, it looked crappy, right? People could do copies, and every copy was actually an original. There was no lost anymore. Back in the age of tapes, the copyright protection was kind of built in by nature. I mean, after this second or third generation of a tape copy, nobody wants to listen to anymore. You wouldn't have the pleasure to listen to such a noisy, weird sounding tape. So CD was a different story. So actually, I can't blame the customers, can't blame people when they start to losing the sense of worth of a music product. Also, the ability to produce music, I mean, including myself. I'm in a generation where I was able, as a private person, to set up a professional music environment to produce a professional piece of music. Back in the 70s, there was no way to pay the price for a tape machine and a big recording console outside the industrial environment. It kind of flooded the market, which was a good thing, because it was a kind of making the music business more democratic, because artists start to publish themselves, but it means the market became more dense. When iTunes became so popular and everything went more and more to downloads, we experienced much less selling in CDs or vinyls. And so, yeah, I mean, we decided to put our stuff on iTunes as well, and Google Play later on, and all the other download platforms, of course. So our music was available on those markets as well. And then I pretty soon decided to find my own way of selling music direct in the internet, to find a personalized or customized web shop where my fans or my customers can purchase my music. There is no ready-made template or ready-made software on the market, so I had to develop my own thing. So I decided to do this with Drupal, which is a very complex system, and it's more in a framework than a ready-made page manager. And in about a time of 1.5 years, I was able to program my own download web shop. And so I did it with a specialized music for meditation, relaxation. And now it's online for 5 years now. It's called mysoftmusic.com. At least in this perspective, I'm really independent. There's no publisher, no record label involved. So every money that people are paying for the downloads goes direct one-to-one in my pocket, which is it's a good thing. Like when I did my mastering back in Frankfurt, people ask me for, can you do the cover for us? Can you do the booklet? So I became more and more involved in the world of graphics design, and I learned my Photoshop, my InDesign, my Illustrator, all this Adobe creative stuff. And now I'm doing the same with web development. I know a little bit about PHP, a little bit about JavaScript and HTML, of course, and CSS. Fortunately, I'm not right now not totally dependent on music business. So I consider myself as a multimedia guy. So that's one way I survived the music business, is to do other things than the music business itself. But somehow everything is related, which is for me a perfect thing, because actually, basically, I do things there that makes me really fun for me. So I'm pretty satisfied about this.
The changes in the music business hasn't stopped yet. Now everybody is talking about streaming.
Yeah, streaming. Even downloads gave people kind of the impression actually they own something. You got it on your hard disk. First off, I want to say nothing of my content is available for streaming. I made the decision 2 years ago that I don't want to be involved in the streaming business where I've got the impression that other people make the money other than me. Someone has to stream my given track maybe 10,000 times to even pay my dinner for tonight. I mean, if you personally would be the best fan of my music, I mean, how many times possibly you can stream my music? Even you would listen to the same song 24 hours, 24/7. It wouldn't be enough. And no, and I've got the impression that a lot of portals, a lot of big businesses like Spotify, they invest a lot of money in infrastructure for their services, like servers and bandwidth on the internet. They do that for having accounts and collecting credit card holders and get their email addresses so they can market those millions of members for other things, for advertising. Every new member of a portal like Spotify has a certain value on the stock market, and we're talking about really big business, but it doesn't have nothing to do with me. I'm just a content provider. All my stuff, and of course stuff of my colleagues and other musicians, are just available to make systems like Spotify really exciting. So I don't want to be a part of that kind of business. And if this is going to be the only business for music, I would say I stopped doing music. On the other hand, for people, they are making their money on being a musician on a stage. That's a totally different story. They could consider the streaming service for a kind of an advertising tool to make, to introduce their new album. And even people wouldn't really pay or download for the album, but at least when they would buy a ticket for the next concert. That might be a good chain of marketing. Make you aware, introduce your music to the people, and you might have a packed house on your next concert. And I want to point out, why is it so difficult for the music industry? I mean, we have the same streaming services in the film industry, like Netflix, for instance. That's a good example. But the crucial difference between music and film industry is that in the film industry, there's a certain chain of markets where a brand new blockbuster is shown in movie theaters only for the first year. And after the years, get the license for the TV. And after the certain amount of the TV, it's available as a download or on a DVD or on a Blu-ray. And after another year of marketing, then you'll find this movie on Netflix, the very last stage of the market. But in the music business, the music goes in streaming service right away.
Thank you, Kirk, for sharing with us today. It's been fascinating listening to you.
Yeah, thank you for being here, and you're very welcome.
Oh yeah, SNK can make ya. Yeah, SNK can make ya. Stop moving, hold on tight, sugar daddy unload. You're going all night.